right, I'm excited. Why? Because this is a video that has nothing to do with martial arts. And I get darn tired of talking about martial arts. And we've just finished putting away our Halloween decorations. I have one sitting behind me. It's before sunrise here at the dojo. And we just had a huge Halloween party. And I'm excited because I love this holiday, as you might. And I wanted to talk about, because I get questions about, what are your favorite horror movies? I'm like, I'd love to do a video on this on our channel because it has nothing to do with martial arts. And you would agree that a lot of you watching right now probably aren't active in the martial arts. You just kind of have a passing interest in samurai or ninja or something. But we all have many facets, right? You and I have many parts of our life. And something we probably have more in common with is movies. Everybody I know watches movies or reads books, but more movies. And this list I'm going to give you isn't in any particular order. And a lot of these movies, because I'm older, are considered classics now, and they might not be modern horror cinema, although I do like some modern horror movies. So what is it about horror that you and I like? Some of you watching will have no interest in horror movies, but a lot of us do. I think we love to be scared. That's some tapping into this human nature of fear that as a kid it really affected me, watching certain horror movies when I was just a child. And you and I would agree that often what impresses upon us is what we see as a young child. The first time we saw something, like when I first saw Shogun in 1980, that's what hooked me on wanting to be a ninja instructor and to be a samurai. But even before that, when I was much younger in the 70s, and I have 3 older siblings. I have an older sister who's 9 years older than me, one that's 7 years older, and a brother that's 2 years older. I'm the youngest of 4. And horror movies were always in the background because we didn't have cable back then or computers, so whatever was on the television was a big deal. And getting scared with my family was part of the fun experience of it, and that's why I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays. Christmas I love too, Thanksgiving and Halloween. Those are like my top 3. The others are okay, but there's something about Halloween. I just love this time of year because we live in a place where the seasons change and the leaves fall and the direction of the sun changes. It becomes spookier. The clouds in the sky get thicker. The birds are migrating. All kinds of things happen at once that kind of form this mood. And a lot of my favorite Halloween movies have to do with the mood. They might not be technically good. They had low budgets. They might not hold up in time as far as watching them now. But I still love watching these movies, and some of them I'll watch at least once a year and sometimes more. Why Halloween? Well, again, I think it's just a childhood thing. We used to go out into the cornfields when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, and there'd actually be pumpkin patches that we could walk through, and ghost stories, and people's things in their yard that they put up, like ghosts and figures, and the idea of trick-or-treating and dressing up to be a character was so important to us as a family. And going out with your brother or sisters and neighbors and going door to door, and your friend that was the troublemaker always whispering, saying, "Don't go to that woman's door. She's a witch. She's an old witch, and she'll put a razor blade in your apple or something." There was always those mysterious things, and we would actually go into cemeteries and things like that and try to spend the night in a cemetery and scare the hell out of each other. It was so much fun. These wonderful memories of childhood, because we didn't have computers or devices like this. You had to go outside and create. You had to use your imagination. And many of the movies that I'm going to talk about have to do with using your imagination to bring up the worst fears that we can imagine. Again, this list is in no particular order. I'd love to hear you comment below at some point, because I'm going to miss a bunch, on what your favorite Halloween movies are, or scary movies, or horror movies. I'd love to read what you write. And it's so subjective that you and I would be shocked if anyone agreed with everything on my list, because it's my list and your list might be completely different. Don't yell at people because they didn't agree with what your movie was. It's subjective. It's like art or music. I can't tell you what to like and why it affects me differently than you. And that's what makes this a wonderful thing to talk about, because it's not martial art related. It's human nature. Okay. Again, these are in no particular order. I don't have a script or anything. I'm just going off my head, trying to look at my Blu-ray collection. I can't possibly talk about Halloween without the original Halloween movie from, I forget what year it was, 78, 77. John Carpenter's Halloween scared the heck out of me as a kid. It had a low budget, but it was the start of the horror genre. Maybe you could argue that Night of the Living Dead, because that was Romero's earlier version, but Halloween was the first slasher film at the movies that did really well. Of course, I didn't see it at the movies. I was a child, but my sisters rented it or found it, or it was on television. Scared the heck out of me as a kid. Michael Myers is a figure in my life that I am fascinated about, because you were never sure if he was human, or like Donald Pleasance said, he was just the epitome of evil. And that movie, Donald Pleasance, how can you not like any scene with Donald Pleasance? That man is an amazing British actor, and he elevated that movie. Jamie Lee Curtis was also, I mean, they were all good. All the acting was fine in it, but The Shape, Nick Castle playing Michael Myers, oh my gosh. Here's a funny story. Me and my friend Chris, if you're watching, hello, and Frank, when we had cable television back then, we did an access channel on our cable television, and we did kind of a variety show. And we did several skits, and of course I was Michael Myers. I got to dress up in a jumpsuit. I bought the mask off somewhere, I forget, probably at a Halloween store. We didn't have the internet. The white shape mask of, which is actually William Shatner, if you know that trivia question. I bought the mask, and we filmed a Michael Myers skit. Chris might even have it. It exists somewhere. It was on cable television back in Massachusetts, and I got to play Michael Myers for a whole entire skit that we filmed and chase people around, and it was so much fun to reenact that character. We had a blast. I also got to play Norm Abrams from This Old House, and my friend Frank was Bob Vila, and I was Norm Abrams, and these were all parody comedy skits. And the Michael Myers skit that we did, I was always screwing up and falling downstairs, and physical comedy. As Michael Myers, I was a buffoon, I was an idiot, and I couldn't get anything right. And that's what the whole turn for the cable TV show was. But Halloween, fantastic mood. That movie will put you in the mood for fall and Halloween, and that is one of my definitely favorites to watch. Doesn't hold up as far as being scary nowadays much, but again, it's a childhood memory that I cherish, because it was one of the first slasher scary movies I ever saw with my family, and we didn't sleep that night after watching it. Wonderfully done movie. And Halloween 2 I thought was actually very good as far as a sequel. Most sequels suck, right? But Halloween 2, I really enjoyed that continuation of the same night in the hospital, and the same characters, Donald Pleasance and all of the others, who just continued that story. Any of the new Halloweens I'm not a big fan of, and I think they're quite terrible mostly, but the younger generation, I'm sure, likes the new Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends types of movies. I just think Halloween 2 is the last that I enjoyed. So Halloween's 1. Again, these are in no particular order. Other scary movies. Well, Alien scared the heck out of me as a kid, and I know that's considered science fiction, but Alien is such a mysterious movie and spooky. I remember seeing that when I was a child down at our beach cottage in Wareham, Massachusetts, and our friend John Ferranti had a special type of preview, which is like a cable, but it was just a box that sat on your television, and you would push a button and it would access the channels. And me and my brother Doug, went to watch Alien at John's house, and it was so scary because, again, I was just a kid. And I remember being so scared of that movie, the alien creature going around. And Ridley Scott's direction was great. Sigourney Weaver was good in that. John Hurt with the scene with the creature coming out of his stomach, what made us sick. I mean, that is such a good, well-crafted movie, and it holds up today. Fantastic movie. Not necessarily horror, but it's in that genre. The same thing with Jaws. That's always on people's top 10 list. Now, is Jaws a horror movie? Yeah, I would be considered that somewhat, but I considered it just a damn good movie. Jaws, because that darn shark didn't work, Spielberg had to adapt. He had to build the characters off of Carl Gottlieb's script and Peter Benchley's book. So Jaws is a fantastic movie because the shark didn't work and you had to use your imagination. You would see the fin cutting through the water or the swimmer getting attacked from below. And with Jaws, they didn't show the shark until the end. And that built up suspense. And, of course, John Williams' score. All these things worked together to make Jaws one of the #1 movies of all time because Spielberg had to work with what he had, which was, gosh, we have the shark's not working again, the turd they called it, so we have to concentrate on Roy Scheider's character and build up Quint, and we have to spend a whole day on this one scene with the mayor and make it really cool. All these characters. Jaws is the ultimate in a character arc and character script. It is not about the shark as much as the 3 main characters and the town of Amityville and the whole thing around the denial of it and all this stuff. Jaws, fantastic movie that I would watch 3-4 times a year. What else? Poltergeist scared the heck out of me as a kid. The scene with the guy tearing his face off in the mirror. How can you forget that? Again, another Spielberg movie. The tree eating the little boy and the clown, the first time you see that clown. Wow, that movie scared me as a kid. Really good. The whole special effects back then with the ghosts and the things popping out of the ground at the end and the fact that it was built on a burial ground. That whole movie was really good. So Poltergeist is a good one. I don't really watch it a lot as a repeat watch, but when it's on, you can't turn it off. It's such a good movie. What else? Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot, even though it was a television movie. If you ever watch it, please get the long version. Don't watch the hour Salem's Lot. Get the one that's like 3-4 hours long. Has the full story. I don't read fiction. I only read nonfiction, so I never read the Stephen King books. But Salem's Lot with the master vampire in the kitchen, that scene when he pops up and clunks the parents' heads together and kills them instantly. What a freaky vampire. That Nosferatu makeup they did on that German actor was fantastic. And David Soul as the main character was really good in that. James Mason as the bad guy's kind of assistant. What a freaky character he was. And Lance Kerwin, James at 15, he was the young apprentice boy. And the way they did it at the end, where they went off and continued to hunt vampires, I thought that was very well done. And the guy in the rocking chair, remember, rocking back and forth with the white eyes? You guys remember that? Now these, if you're young, I want you to go back and watch these and see if you can, well, I'm not going to make you watch them, of course, because they're subjective, but you might watch it and think it's the dumbest thing. And the whole, there are parts of it I would cut out. The love story part in Salem's Lot does not need to be there, so I would definitely edit a lot of it out, but as a vampire movie, wow, that was a good one. Salem's Lot. I loved the movie Magic. Do you remember the old movie Magic, starring, guess who? Anthony Hopkins, one of our greatest actors, and he had the ventriloquism puppet. Fats was the name of the puppet. What a good movie. John Huston, I think, directed that. Burgess Meredith as the kind of crazy producer and Corky. What a good movie. Now, Magic is literally a love story about a guy who's mentally ill, who lives through his puppet, through his giant dummy Fats, and he ends up killing people and falling in love with Peg, the redhead from school that he fell in love with. We all had a Peg in our childhood. And just showing you the insanity of this man who they wanted to be a stand-up comic. And he kind of backed away from the limelight, and he went and saw Peg in New York, and kind of things went crazy after that and ended up killing the husband. And I know I'm giving spoilers away, but heck, the movie's 40, 50 years old. But Magic, I still will watch nowadays. The movie is really well done. Fantastic acting by Anthony Hopkins and Burgess Meredith. The woman in it, the redhead, is a horrible actress. Laughable, but that ventriloquism dummy is freaky. And my sister used to use a Charlie McCarthy doll to scare the hell out of me. So that's probably why that movie affected me. Many, many other horror movies. Let's continue. I don't know why, but the movie Burnt Offerings really affected me with Bette Davis. Burnt Offerings is about kind of a haunted house that comes back alive when people die. And again, Burgess Meredith was in that. That was a really good movie. Karen Black from Trilogy of Terror. Remember that? What a good movie Burnt Offerings was. That was just a freaky movie overall. And again, it was a television show, I think. The guy that had the big, tall, lanky guy that scared the heck out of me. Boy, Burnt Offerings. And the twist at the end I didn't expect as a kid. That's an overall pretty scary movie. A little bit cheesy in parts, but really, really well acted with everyone in that movie. So Burnt Offerings I would suggest as a good, at least rental. Horror movies. Amityville Horror scared the heck out of me. Now that's a really low-rated movie. But James Brolin or his dad, I forget his name, Charles, really affected me as a kid. The part with the priest and the demon in the house yelling, "Get out!" and the flies in the window and that scary place in the cellar behind that wall, and how the dog was trying to get through that wall, which ended up being the gateway to hell. And when they chopped down the wall and there was this tunnel and this well, which was the gateway to hell, that whole movie scared the heck out of me as a kid. And again, it doesn't quite hold up. It's a bit cheesy now, but because my sisters were so scared, it made their little brother Todd scared too, and Doug. So we were scared because our sisters were scared. And gosh, Amityville Horror still to this day is disturbing. The music, the score at the beginning with the children singing is, wow, it gets you really in the Halloween mood. How can we go without mentioning The Exorcist? William Friedkin. He's a really underpaid director. William Friedkin, you know, The French Connection, Sorcerer. Yeah, William Friedkin's a really good director, and for him to have taken William Peter Blatty's novel and adapted to the screen as faithful to the book as it was, The Exorcist has to be on our top 10 list because of the low budget. Again, all the effects were done practically. Nowadays, you'll agree with me, all these bad horror movies with cheap computer animation and jump scares left and right, horrible. They don't hold a candle to some of these old classics because they rely too much on visual effects and the camera and the computer to do it for you. Whereas our imagination is what makes us the most scared. It's the things we don't see. And back with The Exorcist, the way it was edited and shot with the characters of Reagan, and even the scenes in the hospital were disturbing. Her going through her brain scans and trying to figure out if this was true demonic possession. And the way that he blended Iraq at the beginning and how they went and found the idol of Pazuzu, I think was the god. And Father Merrin, my gosh, I forget the actor's name. You guys will put it in the comments. Such good acting all around. And Kinderman. Exorcist 3 needs a honorable mention. Exorcist 2 was horrible, but Exorcist 3 was a really good movie for the horror movies in the 90s. It was that we went and saw that at the theater with my friends, and we were disturbed. You guys know the scene I'm talking about with the shears in the hospital, that long drawn out scene where it just goes on and nothing's happening and you're getting bored, and all of a sudden there's that jump scare across the hall, that figure. My gosh, that is one of the best horror scenes ever filmed in a movie was Exorcist 3. You'll see it's right in the middle of the movie. That whole relationship with Kinderman and the writing in that movie, the comedy in that movie is really underrated. It's a good movie, The Exorcist. The ending was bad, but I think William Peter Blatty didn't want that ending, but again, producers screw everything up and they want a big Hollywood ending. The original ending is nothing like that. Brad Dourif playing the psycho in Exorcist 3. How can we not forget Brad Dourif's amazing performance? That's what put him on the map to play Griemer and stuff in Lord of the Rings. Brad Dourif is, again, a great, great actor. All of that movie is good. The Exorcist has such a good score, and the commentary behind the scenes stuff is just as interesting. All of that movie is good. It holds up nowadays. Scariest movie of all time, perhaps. Again, that's subjective. What else? Oh my gosh, we could go on and on. Friday the 13th, yeah, those are slasher movies. They didn't scare me at all, but they were good, back then. Evil Dead. You guys remember Evil Dead? How can you forget that? When you were a kid, those special effects were so gory, so over the top. And Ash was such a good character, but all the characters in Evil Dead, the way that Sam Raimi filmed that movie is unlike any other. And you guys know from Spider-Man, and Sam Raimi has his own style. Again, zero budget. They were freezing cold nights, and the cast was always, behind the scenes were complaining, but what a good, freaky movie. The Witch in the Cellar? How can you not love that? And falling down the cellar stairs and them grabbing you, and all the gore in that movie, and the special effects, all the blood. As a child, that is so disturbing, wonderfully disturbing, to watch that movie and have to walk home in the dark after watching that on a VHS tape at your friend's house. And you have to walk home by yourself. And you're like, there are Evil Dead zombies everywhere in that cemetery. I can't get home. I'm scared. This is what makes childhood so cool, is being scared. I feel bad for people that don't like horror movies. I'm like, you're missing out on such a wonderful human quality. And those who don't celebrate Halloween, of course you don't have to. If you weren't brought up in your culture, or some religions are afraid of Halloween, I feel bad. I'm like, oh, you're missing out on so many cool parts of human life. But to each his own. So, Evil Dead, and Evil Dead 2 is good, but it wasn't really scary. It was just a great movie. All the Evil Deads. Okay. What else? Poltergeist. I mentioned that. Halloween. I'm trying to go through my Blu-rays. Gosh, you guys will have to help me in the comments. There's so many I'm missing. But I'm trying to think back, because many of these movies were put out way before I was conscious enough to know about them. I kind of had to go back and find these classics like Psycho. Psycho, great movie. Not really a horror movie, but scary. Anything by The Birds is considered a horror movie. I love The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. Any of his stuff is really, really well done. For me, it's not as much, like human centipede gore. It's the writing of the characters that I think attracts me more, and definitely mood. Here we go, a couple I forgot. The Fog. Why The Fog? Again, another Deborah Hill, John Carpenter production. The Fog was really scary back then. I loved the ghost story again. Houston at the beginning telling the kids about the campfire and the Dane, that ship that crashed, with the leprosy in the town, and then having the ghosts on the ship come back. What an original idea that was. What a good horror movie or Halloween story. The Fog, the original. The remake was horrible. The original Fog, I love. Hal Holbrook as the weird priest. And Blake and all these characters coming back, and again, all the practical effects really scared me as a kid. And I still like that movie nowadays. I'll put it on and just kind of get lost in that period of time. I would recommend The Fog, although some of you younger people might laugh at it. I think it's really a good, spooky, literally ghost story. Great for your imagination. The Fog. There was another one that I wanted to mention beside The Fog. Gosh, I'm getting mixed up here. So many good horror movies. What else am I missing? There's so many good ones. You know, do people ask you, what do you think about Frankenstein and Dracula? Yeah, they're all good. Let the Right One In was a modern day vampire movie that really freaked me out. That was made in the 2000s. It's called Let Me In. I forget if it's Swedish, but it's a foreign movie that I watched with subtitles, and then they remade it as almost an exact copy, an English version. Both are good movies, actually, very good. But the foreign version, the Swedish, I think it's Swedish or Denmark, one of those. I thought that was superior to the American-made movie, but both of those Let Me In movies, or it's called Let the Right One In, fantastic kind of horror movie love story type shows. Modern ones, I don't see too many modern horror movies that scare me at all because I'm so old and jaded, so it takes a heck of a lot to scare me. Hereditary, you guys know that one. That freaked me out. That's one of the few modern horror movies that really disturbed me as far as thinking about it when I went to bed that night, and my girlfriend as well. We were both like, that's such a disturbing movie. And the next day we were still talking about it. The scene with the girl driving down the road and choking on the peanut allergy, and the twist at the end with the boy. That whole movie was really well shot, well acted with Gabriel Byrne and the other actress that played the main character. She was a great actress in that. The whole twist with the demons and the possession and the cult following it and how they hid it. Very, very well crafted movie. I would highly recommend Hereditary if you want to be kind of freaked out. So that was an example of a modern movie that really disturbed me. What other modern horror movies are disturbing? Not too many, because again, there's such a cliche with these tropes that just don't scare me. I want to like them. I watched, what did I watch last week? Barbarian, that new one. I didn't like that at all. Again, these jump scares going down into the tunnel system under the house. You know, it's all scary, but it doesn't, the plot twists and the writing is so bad. And then there are so many holes in the plots that you can't hold up the project as a classic horror movie because there's so many holes in the plots and bad writing and stuff like that. And again, just generated, how many times, you guys, can you look down a dark hall and see a figure and then they speed up the camera so it's running towards you in this crazy way? That is so overdone that it becomes almost comical. It's like the MCU universe, these comic movies that they make now are just pumped out one after the other, and they're not well written or well acted. It's just a barrage of effects and loud sounds, and they make a lot of money for the studio, so the studio says, what other characters can we use in the DC or the Marvel universe to butcher and destroy and try to make billions of dollars for people? This is not good writing, in my opinion. Some of the old classics that were forced to make a horror movie because of a low budget make them better and more rewatchable. And older people like me who were brought up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s want these on DVD because they were cherished childhood memories. The idea, again, of being scared is something that you and I all share. Fear of death, fear of pain, fear of being slashed or murdered in the corner. Demons and angels and supernatural ghosts and things like that. elicit a response in our memories and our brains that make kind of life cool. Being scared is kind of fun in a way, especially when you're with friends and you have jack-o'-lanterns and you make a community event out of it. And going to haunted houses, we used to do that as kids all the time. Things like that. Now, you younger people watching this have your own set of wonderful memories that have nothing to do with mine. And you're going to like a whole other set of horror movies that are modern. Ones like The Conjuring and things that I didn't like, but you may have loved the Conjuring series or the Annabelle series, whatever you like, will be your new Halloween, your new Jaws, your new Alien. The Thing, I can't forget The Thing, that just popped into my head. Again, another Carpenter masterpiece. The Thing is such a damn good movie as far as not knowing a who's who, a whodunit. The ultimate in science fiction and horror mixed. I don't know if Rick Baker did the effects on that, but my gosh, those gory effects. The Thing is such a good overall movie. Low budget, suspense, edge of your seat the whole time. Everything about that, almost every scene, the comedy in that, the character development, the scenes with the dogs, the scenes with the helicopter, the scenes with the flamethrower and the guy on the table that his stomach opens and bites off the arms of the other guy giving him CPR. It's incredible, all the effects in that movie. And the head pulling off and turning into a freaking spider. And the acting overall was great by every character in that movie. So again, without any horror, the characters, again, everything. If you're a movie maker out there, listen to me carefully. If you want to be a good movie director, you have to have good writing, good characters. Plot is almost not as important as the character. It is, of course, but you have to have good characters with arcs and good writing. How people would actually talk in real life. That will make, and please leave if you're going to be a horror movie maker, leave some room for imagination. Just show a long shot of the room, but don't show anything happening. And let the person imagine, did I just see something in the corner move? Was that a shadow that moved over there? What was that thing did you see that? I think I just saw a doll blink over there. That's what makes a good horror movie, not barraging you with bad effects on your computer because you have the software you can make it. Doesn't mean you have to put it in. Look at the simple movies like Halloween and Poltergeist and The Thing. These are movies that had to use puppets and things like that. And we know visually that these things are real. We can tell immediately if it's CG or not. We can tell if it's an actual practical effect. We can tell if there was a guy under there with a puppet in The Thing, which was actually made with puppeteers doing the creatures and things. There's something about that makes it more visceral and more real on our brain. CGI is so overdone now that it takes you out of the picture. So when I mention a movie like Amityville Horror or whatever it might be, Empire of the Ants, I mean there's a million old scary movies. The practical effects, because of budgetary limits, made them, in my opinion, more classical and better made movies rather than a computer-generated movie. Guys, I must be missing 10, or I could go on, and later on today I'll think of 5 more. And I'd love, again, comment below and tell me your favorite scary Halloween movies that I have missed. I think I missed about 5. Forgive me, I should have made a list because I wouldn't have forgotten some of these wonderful ones that I'm missing. But you get the idea. This time of year I love, and now we're going into Thanksgiving, which is a whole different mood. Now things that I used to love, like the old Charlie Brown cartoons start to come out, and The Grinch will come out soon. We just lost part of the Rankin Bass team, so all of those coming up Rudolph shows and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas shows and Heat Miser and Snow Miser, all those movies are going to be coming out. Those old cartoon classics, the claymations. I can't wait for this Christmas season and all those great movies. and maybe we'll do a Christmas list for those of you who are interested. But you and I have many things in common that have nothing to do with martial arts. Martial arts is a massive part of my life, but I get tired of talking about it because I live it. It's my job. Last night in class, we were doing some 5th to 6th degree black belt knife defenses, scary stuff. Talk about hard horror stuff, real life stuff. But for me to talk to you about something completely different makes this channel unique. And the thing that I love about this channel and the community that you and I are part of is, hey, we're just getting through life. We're just living, and to escape into a wonderful horror movie or science fiction movie or a Harry Potter book or whatever it is that you enjoy escaping into. Because let's be honest, most of you watching probably aren't active in the martial arts. I know the vast majority aren't, because most people don't train in martial arts. And by active, I mean you would have to be going to classes at least twice a week at your local dojo. And sadly, a lot of young people don't even want to train anymore. They like to watch martial arts, but they don't like to actively do it. Some do. But movies, you and I share. Memories that we're creating with our families in this scary time of year. Cherish them. Cherish them. The fact that I can go back right now and close my eyes and imagine going through a cemetery as a child with my brother or my friends in our neighborhood, or dressing up as Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger or Jason, these characters that we could dress up as and become for just one day a year. You could become someone else, and you could become a scary person. The Shining is another one I missed. Another great movie, The Shining. How could I forget that? We could do a whole video on Kubrick's masterpiece there. Kubrick, excuse me. But I'll leave you at this. Thank you for watching. Thank you for enjoying the horror genre with me. And again, comment below. I'd love to hear your favorite memories of your favorite horror movies and why they stuck in your brain for this long. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your time. The sun's coming up. It is, what time is it? It's 20 minutes of 8 here at the dojo. I have stuff to do, and I'm going to enjoy my day. And tonight, I think I'll put on a horror movie. I don't know which one, but maybe if you can suggest some ones that you loved, I would love to maybe watch the movies that you suggest to me. Again, everyone, thanks for watching something different. Like, subscribe. Let me know if you like these types of videos that are non-martial art related. I think that we might have more fun with these on occasion to break up the monotony of, gosh, 600-700 martial art videos on our channel. I get tired of doing them. And I have to really be inspired now to make a video or have the people that edit these for me and the mods that help me out, because I'm too busy running a school of 200 students. I don't have time to make a lot of videos, so I have to really be inspired to make one now. I'm getting older. But anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Enjoy your Halloween, your Thanksgiving, your holidays, whatever you celebrate. May it bring you joy and fear and frights in the future. Have a good one. Bye-bye.